Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today, we're finishing up our king. We are on chapter 20, the last 20, Destiny. And I had so many kind messages after the last video. If you missed it, definitely go watch it because it just kind of took over. I just love the queen so much and I just had to get my thoughts out there. But I'm good now. I am ready to tackle this chapter. So a lot of this chapter is about Charles becoming king. We saw what happens when I talk about that last time. So I'm going to get to the juicy parts involving Hank and Skank. So without further ado, let's dive right on in. It does talk about the family grieving. And the 10th of September, William and Harry decided to call a truce in their bitter dispute and put on a show of unity at Windsor to view the floral tributes at the castle, after William invited his brother and Meghan to join him and Catherine there. Harry and Meghan held hands together before all four of them. What else is new, right? You could just say that anytime. They held hands. Okay. Before all four of them walked forward to greet the crowds. For the cameras, at least, it was as if they had slipped straight back into being the so-called Fab Four again. Okay. I'm going to stop the author right there and say, no. That's not at all how it looked to me. I just couldn't stop looking at the unnecessary PDA. It was more than a wife comforting her husband who lost, not only the Queen of England, but his grandmother. It was a control and look at us. And I don't even feel sorry for Harry in this because he treated his grandmother, the Queen, so poorly at the end. He doesn't deserve our sorrow, I don't think. I think he brought this upon himself so he can deal with it. Anyway, getting back into the passage, he's saying that people bought into being the Fab Four again. I'm saying, no, that's not quite how I saw it. But he goes on to say nothing could be further from the truth. As close sources have confirmed, Catherine later admitted to a senior royal that it was one of the hardest things she ever had to do. Such was the ill feeling between the two couples. And this is the soundbite or the clip or whatever that I've seen a lot in the news, is that it was the hardest thing she ever had to do. I bet. I think about that quite a bit. And I don't know, I've been kicking around how to make a video about that. I would like to get down. I want to get all my thoughts down about all the things that she had to put up with, all the things that have been said about her, from Spare to the Oprah interview and everything in between. And she's had to bite her tongue. I mean, all of them have had to bite their tongue, again, to work around these two that only care about themselves. And I got upset last time. I'm not going to do it this time. I'm just telling you, I feel for Catherine. I feel for William as well, obviously, but I feel for Catherine there. I'm sure it was horrible. And going back to the author, I think it's funny that he felt tricked into thinking the Fab Four were back together and that a truce was called, but I don't believe a such thing happened. I saw the walkabout just as much as you guys did, and it seemed like things could not have been more awkward. And I personally am petty, and I love that Catherine looked right at Meghan, and Meghan cowered and kind of turned away. But again, it just shows those two and how they just have no care for anybody but themselves. It's, whatever truth they decide is the truth is it, right? I mean, who cares what actually happened? It's whatever they can sell. Okay. So after the funeral happened, the author goes into, it's Jobson. He ended up going into Charles and his taking over as king. And then he goes into this. I'm just going to read this part for you. Ready? Only Harry's constant televised complaints threatened to upset the harmony of the new reign. With each interview, he made the chances of healing any rift with his father, which he claimed he wanted, look even less likely. Again, you can't believe anything that either of them say. He never wanted to make up with his father. He just wants to sell him and everybody else in his life. Ahead of the publication of his book, Spare, in January 2023, Harry gave another interview in which he again complained about the press and the palace officials, without taking any responsibility for himself for the breakdown in relations with his family. That is their MO. I say it all the time. They'll never take any accountability or responsibility. It would take a self-awareness that neither of them possess. He told Tom Bradby of the ITN News, we know who he is, that his go-to friendly, he was calling Tom Bradby his go-to friendly UK journalist. It never needed to be this way. The leaking and planting of stories. I want a family, not an institution. He says that, but he will not let go of the title, so he's full of shit. So there's that. They feel as though it's better to somehow to keep us as the villains. Again, they're passengers in their own lives. They never take responsibility. Everything just kind of happens to them, to about Harry and Meghan. They've shown absolutely no willingness to reconcile. Gee, I wonder why. I would like to get my father back. I would like to have my brother back. He says these things to sell stories and to look sad on TV, just like he's taking a play out of Meghan's playbook, but he doesn't actually want those things. He just says he does. Harry's dwelling on his version of the past has many senior members of the royal family cold. He told the U.S. broadcast journalist Anderson Cooper on CBS 60 Minutes that every time he tried to meet his family privately, there had been briefings and leakings and planting of stories about me and my wife. Again, seriously, the balls on this guy to say things like that when the only ones we've seen leaking and planting and calling the press on themselves are Harry and Meghan. He went on to claim that the palace press office would protect other royals, but would not do it for him and his wife. There comes a point when silence is betrayal, he says. Okay, so then Jobson explains that Charles instructed a wall of silence about the Netflix docuseries in his son's book Spare, not wanting to dignify some of the elaborate claims. One senior figure says, quote, some blame Meghan Markle for the fallout, ignoring the fact that Harry seems to be the driving force in everything that happened. I don't know if that's true. I just don't know if he's smart enough to think of this on his own. I think they're diabolical together. How about that? There's a point when officials joke that Harry was the victim of Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah. And he was Meghan's hostage. But now most just feel Harry has turned his back on everything he has known. I agree with that. Because I do find myself saying the same thing, like, oh, she's controlling him. And I do believe she does. But I don't want it to make it look like he doesn't have control over what he's doing. He's a grown man. He can decide for himself. And it's his family here that he's done this to. So I think they're equally diabolical. The idea of stripping Harry and therefore Meghan too of the title Duke of Sussex has been discussed at the highest level. The king said not to be in favor of it, but other senior royals are less indulgent. Only time will tell. Please. I love Lady C. She seems to hint, say, imply, whatever, in her wonderful way of speaking, that don't worry, it's coming. I believe I hadn't watched her in a little bit, but last I heard, the rumblings are after Coronation things might be happening to get ready for that. Yes, please. And that's pretty much it for the chapter. The rest just talks about how Charles will be as king, and then there's an addendum to the end of the book going into Charles's coronation, but really no talk of Harry and Meghan. The only other time that they come up is they discuss, I don't want to talk about Andrew, I'm just not into talking about him, but Fergie, and how, I did not know this, Fergie and Camilla have struck up an unlikely friendship, and he's starting to allow Fergie to come around, although I hear she's not invited to coronation, but that's not here nor there. It's more about, he says, I don't know that the same will be said about Harry and Meghan. Basically, they have a rockier road ahead of them, and who knows if they'll be invited back into the fold or not. But again, from the outside, it seems like Charles gives them so much leeway that they don't deserve. So it's hard, because I'd like to think that he just says, fuck off. But he seems to want, and I understand it's his son, but he seems to want to try to make it work. So nothing would surprise me at this point. But I'm more thinking, I don't think it'll be that. I think it'll be shenanigans pulled by, these two, Hank and Skank. So we'll see what happens. But that is how the book ends. I am definitely down to dive into another book. I'm trying to decide what. I've read your comments. With the coronation coming up and things getting crazier, I'm still going to be posting a ton of videos. I post a video every 12 minutes. But what I'm thinking is I'll just post some compilations, some things I've been trying to work on in the background, because sometimes these book ones take a little longer, to read, to highlight, to think about, to put together pictures, all that stuff. Listen to me, I sound like Meghan. Feel sorry for me, wah. But no, I'm fine. But so anyway, so I might just work on a couple compilations the next few days. You'll see still a ton of videos from me as I prepare for Coronation, and then we may just dive into something when I get back. But regardless, I'm still here. I'm still putting out tons of content. I'll be doing that. We'll see. I have no idea how this coronation thing's going to go in terms of I'm going to record as much as I can. I'm going to put up as much as I can. It will not be on the normal schedule. But I figured, while I'm flying to England and stuff, I will schedule some videos. So we're going to make it all work. So you'll still see lots of postings, and then you'll see some stuff from England, which I'm so excited about. I can't wait. So excited. Anyway, that's a lot of rambling. You guys, I love you. I truly do. I thank you for being here. You guys seriously are the best. Thank you for sticking with me through this book, through my stupid allergies that I'm dealing with. I appreciate you so much. Continue to leave me your book suggestions. I welcome them all. But again, please understand that I'll just be posting compilations and stuff in the meantime, and then we'll dive into a book when things settle down a little bit. But I appreciate you, and I hope you have the best day. And thank you for supporting the channel. If you want to further support the show, I do encourage you to check out my Patreon. I do a lot of extra content over there, deep dives, lots of fun stuff. I even cover episodes of Sex and the City if that's your jam, but a lot of Harry and Meghan stuff. So check that out. It's patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. That's where you can become an executive producer. I'd like to thank my executive producers so much for all the support. So I'm going to read your names, and if you want to become one, check it out on patreon.com. Thank you to Linda and Melissa. Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mr. K. Thank you to Kay. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you to Aaron and Frank. Thank you to Kristen. Thank you to Ann M. Thank you to Amanda. Thank you, Ann H. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Glynis. Thank you to Karen. Thank you to Dewey. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Adair Becker. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Barb G. Thank you, Diana LOL. Thank you, Allison B. Thank you to Jean. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, KT. Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, Stromboli. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Loie. Thank you, Lucy H. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you to Robin's Landing. Thank you to Helen. Thank you to Maura. Thank you to Ashley C. Thank you to Molly. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Sandsquid. Thank you to Rach. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Domby. Thank you, Android P. Thank you, Sheena. Thank you, Aaron M. And thank you to Faye. So if you would like your name shouted out and as an executive producer, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Can't wait to bring you the next part of Spare Us. Take care. Bye-bye.